Lone Rider here, out in the woods by the Passaic River, and I wanted to talk about self-driving cars. The reason is there's an aspect to this technology that I think a lot of people haven't realized, and that is the moral dilemma and the issue of access to your information to everyone else. It's pretty much asserted by everybody that in terms of interacting with other cars, generally speaking, these will be safer than a distracted teenager, an old drunk, somebody who's drag racing, somebody who's drowsy, etc. However, it's also acknowledged that there's a lot of big problems in terms of trying to get a machine, which isn't sentient, to duplicate the thought processes and observation and reactions and judgments, more importantly, of an alert, competent human driver in terms of reacting not only to other cars, but everything else in the street, including bicycles. There was a accident in England where somebody was driving in, I think it was a Tesla, and it hit a guy who was an experienced, avid cyclist, just ran him over. Nobody was sure whether the car was on autopilot at the time, but it was the first time that somebody ran over a cyclist riding properly in traffic in a car that was self-driving capable. We do know in the Netherlands there was a motorcycle accident where a guy was seriously injured by a car that hit him, and that was on one of the autopilot features at the time. Now, these autopilot features don't make the car fully autonomous according to the companies, but they're clearly seen as a step up the road. And what's interesting is a lot of them, the way they are right now, can't even operate, safely. There was a motorcycle organization based in Europe that looked at some studies after this crash, and they found that something like 50% of the time or less, the motorcyclists were seen. Wow, that's pretty. So if they're not even seeing a motorcycle, they're definitely not going to see you on your bicycle. And we do know, for example, Google was testing its self-driving cars on public streets using us all as lab rats for years before they even bothered to address the issue of interaction with cyclists. And when they did so, it was by an unconvincing computer animation that showed a single Google car interacting with a single cyclist on an open road in good weather with no variables. Yeah, show me it being able to safely interact with the cyclist when he's riding in a pace line on an open country street with other riders, with other cars. Show me it being able to safely react to a cyclist in a crowded downtown, etc. Nope, they don't. And why did they wait till the cars were already on the street for years before even addressing this? Or pseudo-addressing it, since, after all, I could show a computer simulation of me slam dunking against Michael Jordan. It doesn't mean that I can do it. So yeah, there's serious issues with how they interact with not only other cars, but also other cyclists and motorcyclists and other forms of traffic. However, the bigger issue is what happens when they're in a position where it's unavoidable. They have to hit something, and they have to make a decision what to crash into. And, a human being makes a variety of judgments in that situation. Maybe right, maybe wrong, but they're all based on that person's experience, morals, ethics, etc. And can a computer duplicate that? Unless you have a sentient machine, the computer's morals and ethics are simply going to be the programmer's morals and ethics that are put into it. And then you have the issue of, okay, so what's the programmer considering? What are his ethics? Are they considering all the different aspects of it, or just a narrow focus? Are they the type of ethics that you or I would agree with, etc.? And we don't know, because all this stuff is being done in-house. There's no public debate. There's no whatever. Now, I understand these algorithms and this programming is the property of the company that's designing it. They obviously don't want to share it for fear of somebody stealing their idea, whatever. That said, if the ultimate goal is to put these in the street and in such a way that they're going to be interacting with the public, shouldn't the public know under what parameters they're programmed to kill you? I would imagine so. Now, we do know a lot of people. I have a dumb phone. There you go. It still has buttons. But we do know a lot of people have smartphones and other gizmos that essentially track their personal data. and a lot of people's personal information is stored on them. And if you use your phone to, Apple Pay or whatever it's called, if you use your phone to buy stuff, then your purchases are probably, known to someone. In the future, this information is going to be even more widely tracked, and it's going to be probably wirelessly available, which means the self-driving car, if it has to make a choice to hit a jaywalker who runs out in front of it because they're being a dumbass, or you standing on the side of the road by swerving around that jaywalker, well, most of us would say we'd rather hit nobody, but if we have to hit somebody, the jaywalker put themselves in that situation. The person standing on the side of the road is minding their own business. They're not doing anything wrong. However, what if the person standing on the side of the road has a family history of breast cancer? They may be totally cancer-free. They may never get a tumor in their life, but they had a great aunt who had breast cancer. Is the car going to decide to swerve around the jaywalker who's causing the whole thing and kill that random innocent bystander because they have a family history of breast cancer? What if it looks at it and it says, well, okay, according to the phone data, that guy's a lawyer and that guy's working minimum wage at Home Depot, right? So is it going to kill the Home Depot guy because he's less productive in terms of tax revenue for the government? Is it going to, make a decision that's ostensibly based on safety, but actually injures or puts at risk the safe people? Suppose you have a simple programming parameter that just says, if you have to crash into something, crash into whatever is going to be harmed the least. Now, that sounds fair, right? But what if you have this scenario? You have a jaywalker who's being careless, they're on the phone, they're not paying attention, whatever. They step out in front of the car. Off to the other side of the road, you have me riding my bicycle, going the other way. I'm wearing a helmet. The jaywalker isn't. Does the car decide to swerve around the jaywalker and hit me because I'm wearing a helmet and therefore I'm theoretically more protected, even though I'm not even involved in this incident? Yeah, and people have posed this with the issue of motorcyclists wearing helmets. Again, if you have a bunch of teeny boppers jaywalking out in front of a car and then you have a motorcyclist over there, will it hit the motorcyclist because theoretically he has head protection? So in that sense, people who are trying to be safe and responsible citizens would actually be making themselves targets. A lot of things to consider here. We need to know how they're programming these things, under what parameters they're going to make a decision to kill somebody, and maybe we should reconsider the idea of putting all our personal information out there. It's one thing to have an email account, it's another one thing to have a cell phone, it's another thing to have a smartphone, a Fitbit, a fitness tracker, or whatever. There could come a time where all this information could be not only accessible to people who you might not want to have it, but could theoretically be used against you. If I'm in a situation, first of all, I would ideally not be in a situation where there's self-driving cars on the road at all, because I think this is a very bad idea. But if it does come to pass, I want to have as little to do with them as possible, and I want them to know as little about me as possible. If there has to be a collision and it has to make the decision to maybe hit me or nearly hit me, I want that decision to be made on the parameters of the incident itself and nothing more. Just like when you go to court, you have to be judged by a judge and jury. All they're allowed to assess is the evidence that's admitted related to that particular incident. That car has to make a judgment on a particular moment on the road. I don't want to be judged by what I may or may not have done 5 years ago that's in my personal medical records. I wanted to make a decision based on that situation and that moment. And I think we should all be looking at that, because not for nothing, if you've never heard the word eugenics, go look up on it. Just like self-driving cars, it started as a supposedly noble idea, and where it ended, well, let's just say it didn't have a very good ending for millions of people, all right? And we don't want to make the same mistake. So, whether it's something simple like existing cultural preferences and biases, or a particular type of narrow-minded ethics finding its way into the program simply by accident, whether it's a deliberate choice, such as having killed the people who aren't as healthy or killed the people who aren't as economically productive in terms of tax revenue for the state. The question is, these are all issues. They sound they sound like random, far out. It sounds like something Will Smith would say in the movie I, Robot. But the truth is that these are things we're going to have to deal with. And I'd rather we deal with them now and ask these hard questions than we wait till these things are on the streets. Lone Rider,